Harry, let's start from the beginning for those that may not know. What sparked your interest in racing and how did you get involved with the whole sport?
I suppose I was first interested in ponies and things from my granddad. Obviously, his son Paul is, I think you could say, quite a successful trainer, who's obviously my uncle. But Grandad started me going on. Me and my sister both had ponies, and what would happen was at the start I didn't really like riding because I was obviously quite small, had to go on the lead rein, had a lovely pony called Strider. But Grandad used to pick us up from school after doing... he was retired by then, having been a police officer. He'd drive down to Paul's, which was like an hour, do the gallops in the morning, come back, pick us up from school, take us riding. And the only reason I used to go was because he had a pack of minstrels in his pocket. And halfway around this ride on a lane called Moor Lane, we used to stop, have some minstrels. He'd be cycling, me and Amy would be riding. And then I really remember one day he just let me off the lead rein, and I followed Amy around one of the fields and just did a little bit of cantering around the field. And then I wanted to be a jockey, and did loads of pony club. Later on did pony racing, but like Grandad was what really got my interest in riding and ponies going, because he put in so much time to Amy and I. So he got us going, really. And
then you changed tact from not wanting to ride ponies to then wanting to become a jockey. That moment that you said following Amy around sparked your enthusiasm for wanting to become a jockey. So how did that whole process work leading up to riding your first winner?
So did a lot of pony racing, and it was early on in pony racing in this country. I remember I rode the first pony racing winner at Cheltenham, where they did a pony racing day there. Had two lovely ponies, G-Wiz and What a Risk. And then from sort of early teens, I wanted to be a jockey. And basically what I thought was, well, Ruby Walsh is a jockey. I'd quite like to be him. And so, I used to go racing on a Saturday with my dad or mum and dad or granddad, and Paul would win the big race, Ruby would ride the horse, fly home. It was like a rock star, and I thought, that's a bit of me. So did my GCSEs and no more, much to my mum's disappointment. And then started out as a jockey at Paul's, and it was like such a great time to start riding there. Ruby was stable jockey, but you had riders like Sam Thomas, Darryl Jacobs, Sam Twiston Davies, Will Biddick, Ryan Mann, Ian Popham, Harry Skelton, Nick Schofield. So I was so far down the list, but you were learning every day, and just to get a school you had to really improve your game. Dan was obviously assistant at the time. I always say Grandad taught me to ride, and Dan taught me how to ride a racehorse, I guess. And had my first rides point to pointing and under rules in my last year of school. My first winner under rules was at Leicester on a horse called Takarok, who Chris Giles very kindly gave a third to my mum and dad. So that was very special. And then I started Paul's when I was sort of halfway through my 16th year of my life. I was just really lucky. Obviously, I'm his nephew, and I've got absolutely no doubt that I got more rides because of that. But, I worked really hard, mucked in at the yard, and was lucky. I suppose what kick-started my short career in the saddle was a horse called Brample. He won the Greatwood Hurdle. And then I turned conditional at the vice of Paul and Ruby, and for the short time I did it, for 2 years I absolutely loved it. I had some nice winners. Then I had a fall at Chepstow 1 October, and that I rode terribly after that for about 9 months, and then stopped after that. And for a while then I didn't really know whether I was going to stay in racing or not. And what happened was 4 or 5 months after I stopped, Clifford Baker, who is obviously Paul's head lad, he said to me, Paul and I have been talking about this, and we think you'd make a good assistant trainer one day. And I was sort of not long left school, didn't really have... I had my GCSEs, but I didn't have a great interest in any other sort of further academic studies, and just thought, God, what an opportunity. And So worked my way up as a pupil assistant for a year under a great guy called Tom Jonathan, who's still a good mate now, and then I was assistant at Paul's for 6 years.
And what was the highlight from your time at Paul's? It was such a incredible time for the yard, and to be assistant trainer at that time, you must have taken so many lessons from those 6 years.
Yeah, enormous amounts. I mean, like from the 11 years I worked for him, there's so many highlights, obviously. I think probably highlight of being assistant was probably Frodon winning the Ryanair. Frodon and B obviously had such a massive following. And I'll never forget the reception he got that day. I mean, it was a special day, wasn't it? Paisley Park won the stayers, and Frodon did what he did. But it was just... I don't think he was the most talented horse I saw at Paul's, but he was definitely the bravest. And he was definitely a horse that, like, I admired Paul's training of Frodon, because this was a horse who was, don't get me wrong, he was a really good horse, but he wasn't an absolute champion. And I think Paul absolutely maximised his potential 100%. And the day he won the Ryanair was so brave from Frodon, and that I actually ran up the hill with Michelle and Kate Nutt that day, and followed him back down, and the reception he got from people who genuinely love racing at Cheltenham was very, very special. I mean, there were lots of very good days at Paul's, but that one, that would take some topping. Lovely man Paul Vogt owned him, and very, very special day.
And so 6 years you had as assistant to Paul Nicholls, and then you obviously had a time when you decided you wanted to go off and train by yourself. When did you kind of think that was a good time to do that? Was there ever a time where you thought now is the best time to leave Paul's, or was it always, a bit of not a risk, but something that you thought, was this the right time? Was there ever a right time?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And like early on, after sort of 2 or 3 years being assistant, I thought this is what I love doing, and I sort of had an aspiration to be a trainer from then on. But when is the right time to leave a place like that? Very, very difficult to know. I was given an opportunity to obviously come to where we are now, and I think without that it would have been tough to leave, because I had a really good job and I enjoyed it thoroughly. But I think there comes a time in life where you have to take a risk. Now, it definitely was a risk leaving and setting up on your own, and because of the financial pressure that you have to put yourself under, and you need a lot of people to believe in you, a lot. But I think it was actually David Maxwell who I spoke to a lot about this, and he was like, Harry, you don't have a wife, you don't have children, you don't have any other commitments, you're risking what you have, which is fine, because actually when you start you need to work every hour of every day. And he was right. And so he sort of said, now's as good a time as any to go and do this, because you're really hungry to do it. And in life, if you want to achieve something, you have to take risks, I think. And I think you probably need to be a little bit naive to start training, because the financial pressure that you have to, as I say, put yourself through, and it is quite a mad job. And I think if you probably knew too much about it, you'd think, oh God, I don't think I'm going to do that. I felt that I'd learned enough to know what I was doing. Obviously there's loads still to learn, and I feel like I'm learning all the time, but I felt like if I had a horse, I knew how to train him and win a race. And actually, the thing I was most confident about when I started was, when I get the horses, I'll be fine. But running the business and all of that type of stuff, and becoming an employer, not an employee, and all those things are what I was really nervous about. But the actual training of the horses, I was quite relaxed about that, because I felt that, well, that's what I've been helping to do every day for the last 6 years of my life. So, there's risks involved with setting up any business, isn't there? But I sort of felt that now's the time. I was young, hungry, didn't have any commitments, no children to be responsible for or anything, so get on and do it.
And when you arrived at Upper Farm, there wasn't much here. It was a pretty old farm that hadn't been touched really for a while, and wasn't fit for purpose for a training facility. Talk us through how you built this place from the ground up into what it is today.
Yeah, it's been a long old process, and it hasn't really finished yet. I mean, as you know the yard well, and there's lots of things I still want to do. Yeah, I mean, we're very lucky. We're on Caroline Sutton's land, and her partner Woody has been an enormous help in building the place. And I thought this was a chance in a lifetime because the site itself is absolutely stunning. Mm-hmm. It's a gorgeous environment for the horses to be. There's not many horses that are stressed here, and I sort of felt that it was the type of place that. The only reason that horses wouldn't be able to train well here is because I can't do it. Because I felt it was an amazing environment. It's quite healthy. It's always a good breeze. You're on top of a hill. Beautiful site for a gallop. I just thought that from the moment I saw this site, I thought this will work.
Yeah.
And I really had a good feeling about it. And there was a few buildings that were very, very run down that. I say the team restored, and there's a new barn been put up, and as I say, there's loads of things that I still want to do. If someone said to me, when's it going to be finished, I don't think it'll be finished for 10 years, because there's so much I want to do with it. But I feel very, very lucky to have my own yard in an amazing environment for the horses, and hopefully, we've got 76 horse capacity at the moment, but I want to look back in 5 years' time and be double that capacity, and we have the scope to do that here.
And what's for you has been the biggest challenge since starting your training career?
I suppose the biggest challenge has been when the gallop flooded. When you start training that horses are going to present challenges. That's just. However much you try hard for them to be sound and well and healthy, and horses will go wrong because they're half a ton of animal and things happen. But the gallop was obviously an enormous setback financially, and just not having a gallop all of December is not ideal. But we've weathered that storm, and this season, whilst it's not been the season I wanted it to be, has not been a disaster. So that's been the biggest challenge.
And you've already achieved so much in your short time of being a trainer. What does the future look like for you? What are your ambitions, say, in the next 5 years? If you were to look back, what do you hope to achieve? Next
5 years. I think I sort of see the first 10 years of my training career as a time to build and progress and establish myself. At the moment, I'm looking at it thinking we've made a decent start. This season was quite a major bump in the road in the middle of the year, but we've got to 50 winners, which is the first time we've done that, and that's good. But what I want to do in the next 5 years is build my string, my group of owners. I'm very, very fortunate at the moment that I train for people that they're supportive, but they're also appreciative of the fact that I've just started, and this isn't going to be Nicky Henderson or Dan Skelton or Paul Nichols. I'm doing it my own way, and there's going to be mistakes along the way because I've just started, and so I'm lucky to have people like that supporting me, and I want to keep building people that believe in what we're trying to do here. I would like to try and get to a stage where I can train over 100 horses, because I think if you're going to compete at the level I aspire to, then you need to have a good number. I mean, all the top yards have a good number of horses. So progress is what I'm looking to do in the next 5 years. I don't think I would want to say I want to be here or I want to be there. As long as I feel like I'm building the thing, I'm getting a really good team of people in my yard that work for me, headed up by Amy and Graham and Charlie. If we can feel like every season we're getting better at the service we provide for our owners, the facilities we provide for the horses, and our results, then I won't say I'll be happy, because I think from what I'm learning about training is that once you achieve something, you'll want to achieve the next thing. So I don't think there's any point me saying, in 5 years' time, if I get to here, I'll be satisfied. Because if you do that, you'll probably want to do the next thing. But restless progress, I think, is probably where I'm trying to go.
And to finish on, your biggest highlight of being a trainer so far, what would you say stands out in your memory?
There's been a few. I still think it's really, really tough to beat my first runner. Like every single trainer that starts, you dream of your first runner being a winner, which we were lucky enough to happen. Mum and Dad owned the horse. Amy was there. Paul, who's been my stable jockey from the start, rode him so brilliantly. And like you know, going along to that day, you think, God, I was so excited to have a runner, so excited to make entries. But then to have him win was like you.
It's a dream.
It was a dream. It was genuinely a dream, and like I can remember that day so well, and I would love to relive the 4 hours after that race so much, because that was as good as it got, because like Mum and Dad obviously have sacrificed an enormous amount so that Amy and I can do what we're doing, and like to have a winner for them and my first runner, I hope that one day I train lots of graded winners and there's loads of highlights, but that will take a bit of topping, because that was a really, really good day.
Great place to end, and here's to the future.
Thank you very much.